Welcome to BIA, Canada's top black media provider. Whether you're looking for shows on fashion, art, music, or simple lifestyle, we bring you the best content the black community in Canada has to offer and so much more. And better yet, do you have an idea for a project you'd like us to help you with? We provide equipment, studio, and office space, as well as a team of dedicated individuals to help you bring those ideas to life. So don't wait. Check out our new website at biamedia.ca for more information on how to contact us and start creating today. BIA Media, your way.
Hello, and welcome to Getting Real with Paula. My name is Paula Alphonse, and tonight we are talking about money. More specifically, the meaning you give to money. Our guest tonight is Amie Uitvlugt-Valenzuela, who will help us uncover some of the patterns we have around money that can either help or hinder our finances. Your money mindset does matter as it influences every financial decision you make. We are here to help you open the door to more ease, flow, and abundance in 2022. So, Amie, welcome to Getting Real with Paula.
Hello, thank you for having me, Paula.
My pleasure. It is, I am so looking forward to this conversation. So, let's start by asking you to introduce yourself and sharing a little bit about you, who you are, what is it that you do, and how long have you been in this field?
Wonderful. So my name is Amie Uitvlugt-Valenzuela, and I am the founder of Insure. And I created Insure because I couldn't find what I was looking for in the industry. And I have a very different approach to money and living it out. And so I look at myself and think that I'm a life money coach extraordinaire. And I really help, I know, I love it, right? It's so good. And I really help people journey on this transformation to finish well financially, that financial wholeness, because I believe in whole life excellence. Now, I also believe that we're called to a purpose. And me coming into this industry, there was pain that led to this purpose. I was widowed with 3 young kids without a plan, and it definitely shaped how I was going to live this out and how I was going to help other people to make sure that they didn't have to live some of the anguish we had felt in the financial strain.
Okay. So you alluded to a few things, so I guess I'm just gonna dig into it.
Poke away.
Can you share what brought you to financial planning? Was it something like an early interest from the time I was a young person, or is there a story? I get the sense that there's a story.
There's always a story, right? It's, I honestly thought I was going to just be a stay-at-home mom. That was my goal, stay-at-home mom, live on a farm, raise my kids. That was my dream. And, life kind of shattered really fast for us. And all of a sudden it was like I tried mediocre jobs and it wasn't working. And when I realized that I had a knack for helping people and sharing my story of what we've lived and gone through to help other people, make sure they have the right protection in place, make sure that they're doing the right things with their money, making sure that they've thought about their future. The tagline for You Insure is sharing the manual. I wholeheartedly believe that in life, we are meant to share our stories, the good, bad, and ugly, because our stories become manuals for other people, and it creates this sense of belonging and culture and community so others don't walk it alone.
Thank you. When we first spoke, I remember that I was truly intrigued by the way you talk about money. Your energy, your approach is definitely not what you usually see in the finance world. So, can you share a little more about your unconventional wisdom?
Yeah. You know what? When the industry itself is, it's very different, the financial industry. And you can get lots of different financial planners out there, but really you want to have a financial planner, an advisor, a money coach, somebody that suits you as a person. Now, what I bring to the table is very unconventional wisdom, because there really is only 4 uses to money. And this is a model that I love. It's the live, give, owe, grow model. So,
repeat that slowly, because not everybody will get that. Yes.
I know when I talk fast. Okay, so it's live. So live within your means. Give to causes that stir your heart, that you care about. Owe, so you owe your taxes and you owe the debt. And I say owe your taxes because your taxes is a sign of provision. So, pay them joyfully, and then pay off your debt, and then grow. You need to save money for your future income needs. And so if you live within that model of the live, give, owe, grow, it leads to living a life of significance. Yes. And that's what I love about it.
And I love the way you're presenting it from the perspective that often the people who go for that financial conversation, they're like, oh, it's gonna be painful. Do we have to do this? Is this what and oftentimes they come out and think, I don't know what we signed up for. I hope it works and it's not whoever is not stealing our money.
Yeah.
So there's that sense where I can feel that bit of a disconnect. While the way you present it, it feels as though, warm and fuzzy. Let me get you comfortable in that conversation.
Well, and that's the thing is, somebody once said to me, I'd rather get a root canal than talk to my advisor. I'm like, okay, dude, you have the wrong advisor if that's how you feel. Like, I bring humor, I bring fun, I'm going to call you out on your crap, but I expect you to call me out on my crap. Like, this is a connection. It's actually a lifelong connection that you should have with somebody that's dealing with your money. It's trust. Everything is built on trust.
Yes. And, trust, when you can connect with the person, is a lot easier than trust when you're thinking we are on 2 different planets.
Yeah.
So you mentioned as well that finances is not just about money. You remember that.
So sure
can you expand on what you mean by that?
Oh, goodness. So I get really excited talking about this kind of stuff because money is so, like you said, money is so much more than just money. And really, if we break it down, and I'm going to say it pretty simply, and some people, I don't want this to offend anybody, but emotionally connected men and women have better finances. They do. And so really, when we think about our finances, everything in life is kind of intertwined, right? Our money, our health, how we live out life, all of it, and even our emotions. So our emotions drive a lot of our decisions financially. And so if we can master our emotions, we'll be able to master our money. But then here's the kicker. We don't even realize sometimes that we have these unconscious patterns that come into play. Now, some of these patterns stem from what money was like back as a kid growing up. Some of them stem from our first experience with money, whether it's good or bad. And it can actually shape some of the patterns that you've lived out all these years. And so I refer to this as your old money story, because the idea is to actually have the awareness and self-reflection to look back at your old money story and shift the narrative and move into, like you said, abundance, wholeness, wellness, and making good financial decisions so you can finish well financially. But it does take that transition from breaking down those lies that we've believed about money, or even the self-sabotage. We all self-sabotage ourselves in some way, shape, or form, whether it's money or whether it's in other areas of our life.
Yep. Yep. We're not here on the divulging our personal secrets, but I'm just gonna say I get that.
Yeah, like me too.
Can you tell us some of the money stories or feelings or even patterns that we might not be aware of? Examples, because you've been doing this for a few years and if not decades, and some of us actually never even started thinking about it. So what are some of the things that you've seen in your practice?
So, you know what? I'll give an example of myself because it's kind of funny, actually. And we were talking a little bit about Paula, right? So I love reading and I love books. And so I will order books. And when they come in from Amazon, I'll quickly take them out of their package and put them on my bookshelf behind me. And I do that. And as I'm doing it, part of me doesn't want anybody else in the house to know that I've honestly bought this book off of Amazon. Okay, like we're talking a $20 book. And here I am as a grown-ass woman feeling shame about buying a book, So right there, that actually stems from guilt that I'm feeling. So many of us have shame, guilt, embarrassment about some of our money choices. And so it can actually hinder us from moving forward. As funny as it sounds because it's a $20 book, but still, every little thing adds up. And I remember interviewing a whole bunch of men to get their take on money, finances, and emotions. And when the men were so very open and shared with me different things like their identity being tied to money sometimes, competing with the Joneses. One gentleman even said that he feels handcuffed and held hostage from his poor money decisions growing up as a kid. And for example, let's say you're not so good with money growing up and you have to declare bankruptcy. And then all of a sudden you come into a good financial position and you want to be able to, buy that house. But all of a sudden you're held hostage because you can't because of something that was done how long ago. And so sometimes, it's really hard because we want to move forward, but we almost have these chains that are on us that are holding us back. So really having the conversation as to, okay, wait a second, what are some of the things I should be doing? Where should I be, recognizing when there's an alarm going off, like that feeling of shame, guilt, embarrassment, those are alarms saying, wait a second. When you start to feel jealous of what somebody else has, that's an alarm going off inside of you. When you feel the need that, you're feeling lonely or bored or upset or stressed, and all of a sudden you're on Amazon or you're in the pantry, like heck, we all do it too, emotionally eat, right? Those are our subconscious patterns that we don't even realize are happening, but they truly are.
Yeah. And I love the example you give because Amazon actually did very well during that pandemic. And that's the part where some of it might have been I really need it because blah blah blah, and some of it might be there I have no control over anything. So while I'm there stressing about XYZ, I'm just going swiping, and then all of a sudden your basket is full, and you find yourself sometimes making choices where it's just like, is it for the right reason? The number of times that I've put things on my basket and then you just let it there for a few days to decide, is it really something I want or I need?
Well, and even then, let's break it down further, Paula. So if we look at it, and if it's a need, okay, then that is an essential need. If it's an I love, let's say the feeling's going to last over 6 months.
Yes.
Okay. If it's an I like, the feeling is going to be less than 6 months. And if it's an I want, guess what? The I want are actually fleeting. They're temporary, and it's an instant gratification for the most part.
Yeah.
So what's underneath that? What's driving that I want that? What's driving that? Well, it's likely an emotion. Let's go there. And so that's what I kind of take people through, is that money coaching aspect of it, that there's something else that's underneath it. And if you don't clean up what's underneath, you're going to go into the same patterns over and over again.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you in so many different ways. And I know for me, my mom was a single mom, and she did her best, but some of the decision, the financial decision at times, of course, you're a youngster, young adult, and you think you know better. So you're looking back and you said, I would never do that. And then you find yourself further down the road, and all of a sudden you're like, gee, maybe there was something more. Maybe she was in a situation where there might not have been as many options that I have now. And that's the part where, it's easy to look to someone else and say, hey, that looks great. Oh, I wish I could have that. But let's just say, a lot of our society, and me included at times, you see a really nice car or a beautiful house, and you're thinking, oh my God, I want that. And then nowadays, when I have those thoughts going into my mind, it's just like, and who's gonna pay for it?
Well,
And how much are you going to use it for? And that's the part, because, sometimes you're alone and you have a 4,000 square foot home, and you're thinking, is that the best use of your money?
Yeah.
So, and that's the part that, again, this is where, stopping and checking our story, as we say, because there's all kinds of reasons.
Well, and debt mortgages your future. And so when I say debt mortgages your future, this is what I mean. If you say yes to something today, it's going to mean you're going to have to say no to something later. Mm-hmm. Perfect example. You brought up the vehicle. Okay, let's say I'm sitting here and I have a perfectly great vehicle right now. That's okay. But let's say I have this feeling that I want a new vehicle. If I go get another vehicle and take on that debt, and all of a sudden, let's say 2 years out, my family wants to go on this vacation, I may have to say no to that family vacation because I said yes to this car.
So their vacation is going to the market with you in that new car. Doesn't feel the same.
But that's the thing. So debt mortgages your future. When you say something, yes to something today, it often means you're going to have to say no to something tomorrow. But if you say no to something today, you have the opportunity to say yes to something later. And I love that because there's power in that. I'm going to say no today. I'm going to make that trade-off. No today, but I know that maybe something better is going to come and I'm going to take that.
For me, the no I keep saying, the thing I keep saying no to, Starbucks.
Yeah.
I have a daughter. Actually, I have a few daughters, but one of them, her treats is those Starbucks.
Yeah.
And when we used to go to work every day, the Starbucks was right underneath a building. So guess what she was having every day?
It's true.
And now she's realizing through the pandemic how much money I am saving by just not taking that. It's just like $12 for coffee, and I had 2 a day. Hello? So
I know. It's true. It's very true. We also want to be careful, though, too, because we have money languages. And our money languages really come into play as well. And so there's 4 money languages. And sometimes people are like, what is money language?
I'm writing down. So money languages.
Yeah. Well, there's love languages. A lot of us have heard of love languages. And it's a way of showing people we care about how we love them, right? Mm-hmm. And we can operate in their love language. Well, money language is similar, and knowing what your money language and your partner's money language is allows for unity. But I take it further than that, not even just unity within, your partnership. Knowing what your kid's money language is helps you to correct some of the areas maybe where, we have taught them wrong, which, yes, we've done it. I've done it for sure. And so I'm going to throw an example out there. So there's 4. There's stability, moment, future, and opportunity. And I'll be putting the quiz to figure out which one you are on my website in the next couple of days because it's amazing. It truly is. Now, for me, because I was widowed and lost everything, I am stability through and through. Like oh my goodness, to the core of who I am, I'm stability. And then, so the one day I was asking my 16-year-old a couple years ago, she was 16, and I was like, hey, baby girl, what's your first memory of money? And she looked at me, she goes, well, Mom, that's easy. That's when, Dad passed away. And I was like, okay. And then I got thinking about her patterns with money. Now, she's worked since she's been 14 years old, and I'm telling you, she's a hoarder. Like, she saves her money, and she has a scarcity mindset. And I'm like, oh, that's I'm glad she can save, but I'm telling you, I do not want her to live in fear her whole life about money or about the other shoe dropping. So there's a balance between it all. And so I have to now, and over the couple of years, we've changed her narrative towards, her money language and her spending, and knowing that there's a balance between it. But had I not taken the time to ask her that question, to learn about how she's experienced money, I wouldn't know that she's got this habit. Right?
Can I ask you to maybe quickly run us down through those 4 money patterns and tell us what that means? Because, I see the words and I might have my perception, but it might not even be relevant.
Well, and the thing I like about them, and I'm not putting people in categories saying, okay, you're for sure this, you're for sure this, because that's not what we're doing. But it gives you an understanding as to, okay, wait a second. If I'm stability and my husband or my partner is moment, okay, this is how we're going to clash, right? And so each money language has pros and it also has cons. And it's important to learn the pros and the cons, because the con is how you self-sabotage. Right? And so an example for me and my husband, I was remarried a couple of years back. And so I'm stability. Well, he's moment. So he's Chilean, and I'm telling you, like, he wants to have memories, and he just goes like this with money, and and I'm like, let's rein that in, baby. Come on now, rein it in.
It's like, let's move it in the other sense, not this direction. Okay.
Right. Well, but an example is, and I think too, he thinks in order to have a moment and an experience, you need to have money to do it. And I'm like, oh no, you're the experience itself. We don't need to use the money to do that. And so, like, learning a little bit, they both, like I said, they have pros and cons to each of them. And the best way to learn it, because it can be a little complex, is to check out the website or even book a one-on-one with me, and we can walk through them.
Okay.
And go from there, for sure.
So repeat for me. It's stability, moment, future, and the last one is?
Opportunity.
Okay. Yeah, you got my attention. First sense, as soon as you mentioned the 4 words, the one that jumped out in my brain for me was stability.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know whether it also had to do with the fact that I was a single parent, a child of a single mom. Yeah. And it was just like, I want to ensure that we got stuff. And it's those things that you don't realize you keep just in case. Throwing things away for me is very difficult. I have to recycle it, and then I'm fine. But if it's just drop it in the garbage, ooh.
But Paula, that comes from your money story. That comes from you growing up in a single home, like a single parent home. That comes from, all of those things that you've experienced about money. So we don't just go through life, those things stick to us. Like, and it's funny is they're kind of like labels. And sometimes it's really hard because you get all these labels thrown on you. And you're like, and you're carrying the weight of all those labels. But this is the cool thing is labels are really stickers, and stickers you can peel off.
Yep.
So peel them off. And you know what? You get to determine how you're going to live out.
Yeah. And it's this the part for me when I look at the decision I used to make when I was younger and my kids were younger, are the basis for those decisions are different now. Because now I make a decision without worrying about will they make it will they have enough money for university? Will they be able to move out on their own? And it's all of those things. And not paying attention, it's rolling in the back of your head. but you don't know. And also then you're looking back, well, why did I make that decision?
Yeah.
Again, understanding those money mindset. Ah,
And guess what? The kids are watching us. Kids are watching us. Like, so if we live your life in a way that you would want others to write a book about you, and
yeah,
know that more is caught than taught. So you can tell your kids one thing, but if they see you living something else out, guess what? They're going to look at that. And so if you want your kids to have good money habits and a good financial future, it's time we start making those changes today. Because it actually starts with us as the parents, because they're watching us.
yeah.
And I love Maya Angelou's quote, you know, when you know better, you do better. Love that quote because it's so true. And, you know, we all parent out of a place of brokenness, and that is okay. But when we know better, guess what? We get to do better.
Yeah. And I do believe when you're exposed to different types of conversation. I knew about mindset before I thought about money mindset. So since we've spoken, I started doing this little bit of self-exploration, introspection, and as you're seeing some of those decisions. And I remember my father was a continuous learner, and I remember hearing my parents argue for the amount of books my father was purchasing. And it's this part where until we had that conversation, I don't think I remember that. And so that could be the reason why I'm hiding my books when I'm a grown woman as well. And nobody needs to, it's like, it's not even like I'm getting porn. It is like books to stretch your mindset, and I'm still hiding. Even if I was having one of those fiction Harlequin type books, that would have been, okay, I don't want people to know. But it's just the sense where you realize things go back to those old stories.
Well, and this is the thing is and probably why I'm so passionate about what I do is because I've actually lived it. I've had to rebuild myself from nothing and build back up and figure out how to raise 3 kids, being a single mom, not having a credit score. The bank's looking at me like I was nuts because everything was joined, everything was tied to, my husband who had passed, and not knowing any better, right? So having lived kind of going through a lot of that junk, it allows me to come in and just be honest. Like, this is what it looks like. I'm not going to ask you to do something that I honestly haven't done myself.
Yeah.
Right. And there's times when I have to go back to it and do it again and do it again.
and this is the part where I like reminding people that we are all a work in progress.
Yes.
And lived experience is worth a lot more than all the books you can read, because it is the part where once you recognize something that you're doing that is not serving you, then this is where, as you say, I can do better. If I don't know, I'm repeating those patterns over and over and wondering, how come it's still not working? It's because that mindset is still stuck in the past.
And we all want to know that we're not alone. We all want to know that, okay, wait a second, you struggle with this too? Okay, sweet, you get it. It's progress over perfection every time. Yeah. Oh, see, I'm coming up with some good one-liners. You're liking that.
I'm writing. I'm the person who loves quotes. So, yeah. And I also happen to be a bit of a perfectionist. So, yeah.
Me too.
I need to remember that, because sometimes it's just, you put timelines, and in your mind, if it's not done by such and such a time, it is a waste. Or it is, okay, it's the end of the world. And you're thinking, it's not, okay? Technically, I can pick it up tomorrow and keep going. Maybe my assessment of what that timeline would have been was not accurate. So it's those things where, again, progress is more important, because when there's progress, at least you're moving forward. In perfection,
you always want to.
That's it. When you're into so strong onto perfection, you're actually not moving forward.
You're becoming stagnant.
That's it. That's it.
And really being perfect, you're really alone. Let's be honest.
You know what?
But I do fall into
The
perfectionism
expectation is
sometimes.
too high when you want to
It's
be
ridiculous.
perfect. Even yourself, you can't meet it. And so there's so many, at least I love flexibility a lot better. It's a storyline that works for me better than perfection because you're always
Yeah.
going to fall when it comes to perfection.
And we're
So,
always pivoting too, right? So you always want to make sure that it's not a get it and forget about it either. When you talk money and having a plan and a roadmap, you're not going to drive across Canada without having a roadmap. So why would you do life without a financial or money roadmap? Right? And it's always evolving. You're always pivoting. You're always going to get detours in life when you're driving.
yes.
Same thing with your plan. There's going to be detours. You have to navigate it.
Mm-hmm. And being flexible enough to adjust and not remain stuck in the old patterns is actually what creates growth and at the same time a better quality of life, because trust me, that stress you're putting on yourself not getting you anywhere.
Well, and you need accountability partners. And so that's where a money coach comes in, somebody that's going to walk along you for that journey and call you out on your crap when you get in those
In fact, I
patterns.
thought you said you were not buying any more XYZ.
No more books,
but
Amie.
This one was, yeah. I'm never going to complain about books because as long as it's books that stretch your mind, I'm okay. But, maybe not as many pair of shoes.
I was just going to say that. No shoes, right, Paula? No shoes.
Yeah, let's just say right now, shoes don't matter because you're staying put. So why are you purchasing? Yeah.
So true.
Things to remind ourselves. If I was to ask you, what would be 3 tips or advice that you would give when it comes to money? So let's just say somebody who just doesn't know where to start.
Where to start? Three of my best tips of where to start. I would say find somebody as your accountability person. Find a professional that's your accountability person. That's big. Because you're going to reach your goals a lot faster having somebody with you than not having somebody, right? So get a professional, get a money coach, get an advisor, somebody that suits your personality though, okay? Because then you're more apt to stick with it.
Yes.
I believe that I don't like budgets. I call them spending plans.
Okay.
Know your money. Know your money inside and out.
Okay.
Know it. Don't be an ostrich with your head in the sand. Know your money inside and out. And what's going to be my third one? It's progress over perfection. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Perfect.
I don't know. I don't want to have just wait. It's important to know that you can make minimum wage and have a better financial future than somebody who makes 6 figures if you play your cards right.
Yes. Because sometimes when you have those 6 figures, you also have 6-figure needs or wants. And that, that end up mortgaging your future, if I understood right.
I got another one. So also, Paula, your friend group can make or break your finances just like the community you live in.
Yeah.
And I was like, at first I was like, a gentleman actually said that to me. He goes, Amie, I've lived in communities where it actually hindered my financial future because it was like everybody was competing with one another and it was ridiculous. Yeah. And he's like, I had to remove myself from that kind of community and go to where it was more about time because time is currency. So, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I say to my kids, you are a sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose your friends wisely.
Yeah.
But also think that your friends actually can affect your financial future.
Yeah. And to me, and this is my position, anybody can have their position. And I am not saying this because I am against gated community. But for me, in some of these environments, there might be that mentality, I call it the true man mentality, where everybody has to do things a certain way. And if you're not, then it's a challenge. And this is the part where you have to be able to stand on your own without feeling the pressure to comply with whatever it is. It's just like having a pool just because everybody has a pool, having a new car every 2 years because everybody, and
it's true.
And that's
and
the
you
part.
know what? We each have our own enough. Everybody's enough is different. None of us are going to have the exact same finish line.
Yes.
None of us have the same goals and the dreams. You know, you hear it out there all the time. Oh, well, you need this much to retire. No. Because everybody's retirement is going to look so different. So figure out what your enough is. When you know what your enough is, then we can figure out how to get you there. So it's kind of like reverse engineering, right? You paint me a really good picture about what your finish lines look like. Paint me a great picture of what that finish line looks like, and I'll get you there. Because we're going to build you a roadmap, and we're going to take into account that there could be some detours. And that's good because we want that. It's that risk management piece that we want to take care of, right? The other aftermath of that not being prepared for the what ifs is messy. I can attest to that. So messy.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you want to set yourself up in the right direction and know what it is that you want to accomplish, but you still have to plan for or be prepared to adjust the plan according to what life throws you. So the pandemic is a perfect example. I might have had tons of plans, but things change. And what at least for me in my neighborhood, where people might have traveled and gone places and spent money on boats and all kinds of things, what I've noticed in the last 2 years, the houses are being refurbished and they look better than they were before the pandemic. So things we would have put on hold so that we could go on that overly expensive vacation, we're actually investing in something that will provide you a return on investment. So therefore it's okay. Yes, we didn't go on the trip. Yes, but you know, there's only so far those photos are going to get you. So,
it is. We have this misconception a little bit too about what we think our kids, you know, I'm going to say kids because I'm going to share a story of my own, you know, what our kids view. So, you know, my kids have had great vacations. They truly have when my former husband was alive. They had great vacations. They've gone to Disney, things like that. And I remember the one time I asked them, I'm like, what is your favorite vacation of all time? What is your favorite vacation? And I expected them to honestly say, you know, the Disney World or the Disney cruise or what have you. And you know what they said to me? They're like, Mom, our favorite vacation, that's easy. I'm like, okay, what is it? So it was the year I was flat ass broke, and I was widowed, and I had a little camper, and I put it behind my vehicle, and I took it. I grabbed a generator and some gas and some food, and we went to Crown Land camping. Crown Land is free camping, just in case you didn't know. So Crown Land, you pull up on government land, and you can camp for free. That was their best vacation, and all it cost me was gas and food. We went hiking and cliff jumping, and it just goes to show that our misconceptions that we need to spend all this money for us to have these moments, these memories, it's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true at all.
And you're doing, sometimes as parents, we're doing something and pretending it is for the kids, but it's actually to make us feel good. So if I'm not spending enough time with my child, so we're going to go on a vacation to Hawaii.
Yeah. It's so true. Well,
and then the child wants time with you. So for them, Hawaii might be the vacation where you're spending time with them. But if you're on the phone while you're there all the time, then you went very far for nothing.
It's time is currency too. And we need to remember that. Time is currency.
It's huge. It's huge. And I don't know. For me, the pandemic has helped tremendously in terms of making more evident those choices that we kept pushing aside because I don't have time. And now it's just like, slow down. Is this really important for you? If it is, then what you're going to do about it? And that's the part where same thing for money. If you said you wanted to get to that point, why are you procrastinating? What is the story? Again, that's you're telling yourself that says, oh, I don't have time for this now. I'll do it later or whichever, which is maybe you're avoiding. So it's a different conversation.
And there's that age-old saying that says, you know, you value something, show me your account and I'll tell you what you value.
Yeah.
And it's no different than when we look at, okay, well, if you value, you know, this and this, what's in your calendar, right? Your account shows what you value, and your calendar also shows what you value.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. So you might know that I'm all about boundaries. If you don't, then I'm just telling. So I'm gonna ask, what boundaries have you implemented in your personal or professional life that has created the most space or growth for you?
Most space and growth. So on the personal side, I'm going to share that one first because it was a
Mhm.
pretty big aha moment for my whole family, actually. And so I've always been taught you kind of, hold your own. You don't really share your emotions. You fake it till you make it. You wear, you know, and you sweep things under the rug. And so I lived a lot of my life after being widowed, kind of doing just that. I'm strong. I don't need anybody.
Mm.
And there was a moment when I was in something pretty big and I asked my kids to come with me. I'm like, can you guys show up for me at this event? And they're like, oh, Mom, we got lots of homework. So they didn't. They stayed home. And I remember coming back from my event. And so here I am. I'm in this kitchen and I'm smashing dishes. Like, I'm not breaking them, but I'm like, you know how you can like slam the dishwasher and you can load it and you're loading it with force? Like
Ah,
I.
been there.
So that's what I was doing. And my daughter, she's like, what is your deal, Mom? And I remember falling apart and I was sobbing in my kitchen. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, I show up for you at hockey, ringette, and cheer. There's times when I'm tired and I'm exhausted and I didn't want to, but I still did because I am your mom and I believe in you and I'm your 100% your cheerleader. And I'm sobbing in the kitchen. And she's looking like a deer in headlights, okay? She's like, I have no clue why this woman is hysterical crying in the kitchen. And she goes, Mom, you've never needed us, ever. You've never shown us emotion. You've always had it put together and you've always been strong. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh crap.
Superwoman.
I did not show my kids that it was okay to be vulnerable. It was okay to show emotions. It was okay to ask for help. And it was okay to lose your crap.
Yeah.
And so shame on me. And I think I had so much growth from that. And now we have a very open relationship with I have 3 kids, all 3 of them. They're all teenagers, kind of. And so this house is very interesting to say the least, right? So, but we call each other out and we show up for one another and we can be messy and it's good. It is so good. And I think that is so big as a mom to be able to do that. And even as a dad needs to do it so too. They need to show that it's okay to be, fall apart, to show emotions.
And
Now,
this is the part sometimes we forget about showing the human side. So, and that's the best gift we can give them. It's that sense where they realize that not everything has to be perfect. Not it's like I don't have that mold that I need to abide by in order to succeed, if you can call it. So, your other example.
So this one's super, super funny. So when it comes to work, and I guess it goes into work and personal life. So often, what was it, probably about a couple months back, I had this big talk with my kids about, serving outside of the home and giving their best outside of the home. My son, super into calisthenics, which is a form of working out, which is phenomenal. He is really good in school and he works. So he was putting all of his effort on these external things going on. And I remember saying to him, I'm like, wait a second, you, my dear, like I love you to pieces and good job. Those are all good things, but you need to serve this home first and foremost. You have chores in this house that need to be done. You need to sit down at our suppers. You don't get to miss those. And I was teaching him, though, that it was okay to show out there, show the world, and perform there and not in our own home. And I did them an injustice. And so then a couple months come back, and this has been 2 or 3 weeks ago, he says to me, Mom, can I say something to you at the supper table? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, remember that time when you pulled me aside and you told me I was serving out there and I wasn't serving in the home? And I'm like, yeah. And this is over Christmas break. He's like, you're doing it. And I'm like, oh, snap. And then I started to defend myself saying, okay, well, it's been really cold here in, Alberta, and it's minus 40s and I couldn't do anything. So I submerged myself into work. And he goes, but mom, you did it. And he's right. 100% I did.
Whatever
like,
the reason I'm giving, I did it.
Yeah. So that's
So,
an accountability piece, right? And so we need to be accountable for what we're doing and what we're saying to other people. Please do this.
it's that
But what do
alignment.
you, yeah. So, I want people to know that I'm human too, right? And my business side, I'm going to show you my human side. And that's where I think the life coaching and the money coaching all kind of come in hand. And I don't hide anything from people. This is who I am. This is my family. This is what you're going to see from me. I'm going to call it and say it how it is. If I screw up, I'm going to own it. If you need to be accountable, I'm going to hold you to it. I don't know. There's just something, and it's probably different than what's out there.
But I would say for me, and this is the part where when I have coaching clients, the one thing I want them to know is that even if I feel as though presenting and I know what it is about XYZ, my subject of expertise, I'm still human. I'm still learning. And I'm still making mistakes here and there that I have to correct. So this is the part where, again, we go back to, we are all work in progress. So I might be a few steps ahead of you because of what my journey brought me so far. But then eventually, even when you do everything right, things are going to happen. And true growth is when you're able to see what really is and do something with it rather than just, okay, so it's not happening, I'll just drop that. Or okay, forget it, it's not going to happen. It's this part where if it matters, then how do you keep showing up for yourself? Because otherwise nobody else will do it.
And giving grace too. And every day is a different day. And so something that might be super easy for me might be harder for you. And something that's super easy for you may be really hard for me. And that's the art of holding space for one another and realizing, like, okay, wait a second. This isn't easy for you. Okay, that's okay. Then let's, maybe we're going to shift it. Maybe I'm going to position it differently for you. Maybe we have to do things, a different way. Everybody learns differently too.
Yeah.
So it's all about navigating it and realizing what's going to work.
Yes. Thank you. I so love this conversation. I'm watching the time because unfortunately we all have to eventually close any good party. What would be one key message that you would want to leave with our audience tonight?
A key message. Financial wholeness is, like you said, more than just your money. It's your emotions. It ties into your family. It ties into your work productivity. Everything is actually intertwined.
Okay. I love it. I'm so sorry. Okay. So how can people get in contact with you or hear about some of the things that you do outside of doing lives? So tell us.
So my website is uinsureinc.ca. You can email me at amy@uinsureinc.ca. I'm new to Instagram. It's a beast, but I am hopefully getting better on it. And so I share a whole bunch of stuff on there. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm excited. I will be launching a podcast soon called Sharing the Manual. And I know it's super exciting. It's going to be on whole life excellence. So it's going to be less than 30 minutes each time. And we're going to really touch on life topics, raising kids, being a single parent, dating in today's world. Okay, that's kind of messy. I won't lie, doing that sucked. What is it like to remarry again? We're going to talk about grieving cycle. We're going to talk about emotions and money. We're going to talk about men and emotions because they view things totally different than we do. Totally different than we do.
You know what? You're going to have to tag me on those because it seems like a really, really, really interesting podcast. And, this is the part where what I love about the part I love about the pandemic is all of a sudden there's things we dare do when we're using technology that we might not have considered prior to that. So Paula, you would have said to Paula, "Oh, Paula has a live show." I'm like, "Oh no, Paula doesn't do public appearance." And then all of a sudden, here I am weekly doing the Getting Real with Paula. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, and this is where for me, it's how do we keep stretching those our perspective from the sense of this is what I thought I've always said I was, and now how is that changing? And
you're breaking free.
Notice those changes, because every single of those, how would I say, growth moments are getting you closer to that best version of yourself.
Oh, it's so true. And you know what? 2 words: brave. Be brave, bravery, and 3 words. And I'm going to change it. I'm going 3 words. Bravery is key. Always stay curious.
Yes.
And have the courage to try something new.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's usually a lot less, how could I say, scary than you first assessed. And this is the part where when you don't know, everything feels huge. And once you start doing it, all of a sudden you turn around and it's like, oh, that whole thing. Oh, you do this, boom, boom, boom. And it's just like maybe a year ago, you couldn't have to even consider doing that. So thank you.
We learn more from failure than we do from succeeding, really. So
I tell people all the time. I tell my kids all the time, and I know my kids. They tell me, "But mom, it's so much easier when you tell us." I said, "I tell you, you forget. When you mess up, you remember."
It's true. We need to fall and fail because there's so many good nuggets and wisdom and knowledge and lessons to learn in that.
You get to know yourself. You get to know what matters to you. You get to understand what your triggers are. And so that cannot be transferred. So anyway, not that you're throwing them in the middle of the highway and expecting them to, it's like when they're toddlers, to cross the side. But then at the same time comes a time where you start introducing that, what I call the risk-taking, proper risk-taking.
Yeah.
Anyway, it has been a pleasure. Loved it. And I don't know in the future where and how we're going to meet, but I think there's a connection.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I feel like I've already met you in person, but I haven't. It's the craziest thing, right?
Yes, that's what we call the pandemic right now. This is getting to be our new normal, even though back then we were thinking, oh, hell no. Now it's just like, I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to like this. Yes.
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you very much for all of you gems, insight, quotes. I have notes galore, and I know it's going to fill my heart.
I love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you for having me on the show, Paula.
My pleasure.